now we need the business people to come and help the IT people to get it to work. Well, they're a finite resource, they always have been. So these are the people that are typically out with the clients, explaining what could happen, the art of the possibility. And guess what? They're internally focused on trying to get the project.
Most people in crypto have no idea what ISO 20022 even is. They hear it tossed around in threads, memes, and conspiracy TikToks like it's some shadowy banker code. But the truth? ISO 20022 is basically the new language of money, a universal format that lets banks, governments, and payment systems finally talk to each other in the same way. It's not sexy, it's not memeable, but it's the backbone of the new financial internet that's being built right now, in real time. And here's the twist. BAR's been quietly sitting right in the middle of it. No flashy headlines, no hype cycles, just building. People love to shout XRP, XLM, when talking ISO 20022, and sure, they've earned that. They're directly connected to messaging systems, cross-border payments, the whole settlement layer. But HBAR? HBAR is the one layer deeper. It's the integrity layer, the digital notarization that makes the new system trustable. You see, ISO 20022 isn't just about speed or efficiency. It's about data. Rich, structured, traceable data that can move value with meaning. Every transaction carries not just numbers but context, who, what, when, and why. And that's exactly the kind of problem Hedera Hashgraph was built to solve. While most blockchains are like massive highways with potholes of inefficiency, Hedera's like a frictionless magnetic rail. It doesn't just record a transaction. It validates it, timestamps it, and locks it in with mathematical certainty. No mining chaos, no unpredictable fees, just finality within seconds. And here's where things start connecting. ISO 20022's rollout across SWIFT, the Federal Reserve's FedNow, and other payment networks isn't random. It's the world agreeing on one unified data format for financial communication. But those messages still need a trust layer, something that ensures every data packet that moves across systems can be verified and audited without breaking privacy. That's Hedera's lane. Hedera's public ledger can verify transactions and messages, not just financial ones, but any event in a financial workflow, without needing to broadcast sensitive data. It's like having an incorruptible digital witness. Imagine banks moving trillions daily and each transaction being notarized by a neutral, tamper-proof public network that's faster than any blockchain ever built. That's not fantasy, that's literally what BAR's architecture allows. And when you look at who's sitting on the Hedera Governing Council, it stops being a crypto project and starts looking like a global infrastructure consortium. We're talking Google, IBM, Boeing, Dell, Ubisoft, Standard Bank, Shinhan Bank, Deutsche Telekom, names that don't join hype projects for fun. These are the exact kinds of institutions that benefit from ISO 20022 adoption. They move massive value across borders and need consistency, transparency, and speed. Now here's the part most people miss. ISO 20022 isn't a blockchain standard. It's a messaging standard. But the world that's forming around it, tokenization, instant settlement, programmable money, needs networks that can handle trust at scale. That's where HBAR becomes the invisible glue. Hedera's consensus service can log ISO 20022 message flows without exposing private content, creating an immutable audit trail for regulators and financial partners. Think of it like a neutral referee that both sides trust because it can't lie. And it does this at scale. We're talking hundreds of thousands of transactions per second without gas wars, without network congestion, without, oops, gas spiked to $200 again. It's surgical, efficient, predictable, everything that a compliance-focused world needs. Here's the poetic irony. The crypto world ignored HBAR because it wasn't decentralized enough. But the institutions that will actually run the new system don't care about that. They care about performance, governance, and compliance. They care about being able to say, yes, this ledger is public, but it's governed by 30-plus trusted entities across continents. Not a bunch of anonymous validators running meme nodes in their bedrooms. That's what ISO 20022's future demands. Trust without chaos. And Hedera's literally built on that philosophy. Now zoom out for a second. We're in this weird phase of the financial transition, Not old enough to be obsolete, not new enough to be stable. Central banks are testing digital currencies. ISO 20022 rails are being turned on one by one. Everyone's building around interoperability. And what's Hedera doing? They're not screaming for attention. They're building connectors, APIs, SDKs, and bridges that allow enterprises to integrate ledger services into existing payment architecture. They're helping tokenize assets, from carbon credits to invoices, on a system that can be easily verified by anyone who needs compliance-level assurance. They're working with banks like Shinhan to test stablecoin remittances and cross-border settlements. They're quietly proving the model, not talking about it. When you really start seeing how all these moving parts fit, it clicks. ISO 20022 isn't a destination, it's the language. And HBAR is one of the few networks capable of speaking it fluently in enterprise settings. While everyone else debates market caps and meme charts, Hedera is literally helping define how financial data will be validated and trusted in a post-blockchain world. That's the hidden connection. That's the part 99% of people miss because they're too busy trading to realize they're standing in front of the plumbing of the next system. And look, nobody's saying BAR's going to replace Swift or FedNow or RippleNet. That's not the point. The point is, every one of those systems will need neutral trust layers, public verifiability, and immutable audit trails. And when the dust settles, the question won't be, which coin pumped hardest? It'll be, which network became the backbone of financial trust? And that's the truth about BAR's place in this ISO 20022 revolution. It's not the loudest player, it's the most essential one. The one that doesn't just move money, it validates reality. Cross-border transfers still take days. Nothing truly changed. But Hedera walked into the room and said, "All right, let's do this properly. You have to understand, HBAR wasn't built to be a speculative asset. It was built to be the trust fabric for enterprise systems. The people behind it, IBM, Google, LG, Standard Bank, Boeing, Dell, they didn't need another crypto to trade. They needed a better internet for value. Something that could actually handle real business transactions, not just yield farming. Something regulators could audit, but users could trust. That's why Hedera's design is so different. No proof-of-work nonsense. No energy burn. No random validators fighting for control. It's a governed public network, run by the biggest corporations on the planet. Not because decentralization doesn't matter, but because stability does. If you're a global bank moving billions, you can't afford, maybe the block will confirm in 20 seconds, maybe it won't. You need guaranteed finality, predictable fees, and legal accountability. Hedera gives them that. Every transaction on Hedera is final in about 3 to 5 seconds, no rollbacks, no double spends, no forks. It's digital certainty, the kind that traditional finance craves but blockchain rarely delivers. And the thing that makes it genius is how it fits perfectly with ISO 20022. Think about it, ISO 20022 is all about standardized communication. It's the same language that financial institutions use to describe every detail of a payment, a trade, or a securities transaction. Hedera steps in as the infrastructure that ensures those messages can be trusted. It doesn't need to replace banks. It just gives them something they've never had before. A public, verifiable log of what actually happened, shared across all participants, tamper-proof and cryptographically sealed. That's revolutionary, but not in the let's overthrow the system way, in the let's upgrade it way. And that's what the market doesn't get. Hedera's not fighting the banks, it's building with them. Take Standard Bank, for example. One of Africa's biggest financial institutions. They're part of the Hedera Governing Council, and they're not there for optics. They're there because Africa's financial infrastructure is evolving fast, and they need blockchain-grade transparency without blockchain-level chaos. ISO 20022 messaging and digital settlement will eventually flow through rails like Hedera's. Not because it's crypto, but because it works. Or Shinhan Bank in South Korea, testing cross-border stablecoin remittance pilots on Hedera. That's not theory. That's happening right now. They're exploring how banks can issue and settle digital assets in real time, backed by trust and transparency. That's the ISO 20022 future being built line by line, transaction by transaction. And here's what's fascinating. Most of these integrations won't even say HBAR. on the front end. They'll just run quietly in the background, validating, timestamping, ensuring compliance. People will be using Hedera every day without realizing it, just like nobody thinks about TCP/IP when they're scrolling on Instagram. That's how deep this runs. You know how everyone used to call the internet the information superhighway? Hedera is becoming the trust highway, the place where all verified data can flow freely without corruption or delay. And it's not just finance. Supply chains, digital identity systems, tokenized carbon markets, healthcare data, all of it needs secure, immutable records. Hedera's consensus service is like a universal notary for the digital world. It says, yes, this happened. Yes, it's authentic. No, it hasn't been tampered with. And once it's logged, it's permanent. That's what ISO 20022 needs underneath reliability. You can almost feel how intentional this is. While other crypto projects chased hype cycles, Hedera kept building bridges, connecting old-world compliance with next-generation infrastructure. They knew banks wouldn't abandon decades of regulation overnight. They knew institutions needed something that could plug into existing rails, not replace them outright. So they designed a system that complements what's already there. HBAR isn't a protest. It's a protocol for the transition. And that's why it's positioned so perfectly for the 2025 to 2026 window. Because right now, the world's financial plumbing is being rewritten. SWIFT migrated to ISO 20022. The Fed's new payment rails are ISO compliant. The ECB, the Bank of England, and the Monetary Authority of Singapore all moving in the same direction. The data format is changing, and once it changes, everything that sits on top of it has to adapt. That's the part where Hedera walks in cool and quiet, saying, hey, we've got the infrastructure ready when you are. HBAR doesn't need hype, it has utility. It doesn't need celebrity shills, it has governance. And it doesn't need a cult following, it has credibility. In a world obsessed with decentralization, Hedera's success might feel almost too corporate, too polished, too calm. But that's exactly what the future of finance requires. Institutions don't want chaos. They want precision. They want a system that's clean, compliant, and auditable. Hedera gives them all three. So when you think about ISO 20022, don't just see it as a banking standard. See it as a digital translation layer that needs networks capable of understanding it, securing it, and verifying it at scale. That's what HBAR is quietly doing. Not making noise, making history. And the most ironic part? When the ISO 20022 revolution is fully live, when trillions of dollars a day start flowing through tokenized rails, the people who mocked Hedera for being boring will realize it was never boring at all. It was inevitable. Because the bridge between banks and blockchain won't be built by the loudest voices in crypto. It'll be built by the most reliable network in the room. And that's Hedera. ISO 20022 isn't coming soon anymore. It's live. It's not speculation. It's migration. SWIFT, Fedwire, the Bank of England, the ECB, they've all begun the switch. And the crazy part? The whole system is being rebuilt while the public still thinks it's optional. It's not optional. It's the foundation of how money will move in the next decade. And here's where BAR's position starts to look like destiny. See, Hedera isn't just another project integrating with ISO 20022. It's aligned with the philosophy behind it. Structured data, auditable transactions, consistent standards. The very DNA of Hedera matches what the new financial framework needs to function at scale. We're not talking about random partnerships or a PR stunt. We're talking about timing. And timing in technology is everything. By 2026, most global institutions will have finished migrating their financial messaging systems. That means the rails are ready for networks that can handle real-time settlement, compliance, and data integrity. Exactly what Hedera has been perfecting since day one. You can almost see it playing out like clockwork. In 2023, the world was still testing. In 2024, the infrastructure matured. Now, in 2025, things are shifting from building to implementation. The pilot stage is ending, and Hedera has positioned itself like a quiet architect, blueprint in hand, waiting for the moment everyone else finally catches up. And when they do, it won't look dramatic. No explosions. No headlines screaming, Hedera takes over finance. It'll just happen. A government agency uses Hedera's consensus service for transaction verification. A multinational bank logs ISO 20022 messages on a public ledger for compliance. A tokenized asset transfer clears in seconds with finality guaranteed. No chaos, no headlines, just a system that works. That's the magic of HBAR. It doesn't announce revolutions. It enables them quietly, and the world's moving right into its hands. Look at how every financial body is converging around interoperability and digital identity. Every new regulation mentions transparency, auditability, and data standardization. Those are Hedera's strengths. People forget this, but every revolution needs stability. Bitcoin broke the door open, Ethereum experimented with what could be built inside. But HBAR? BAR's building the foundations of the new house. The turning point won't be when HBAR moons. It'll be when the world starts running on its rails without even realizing it. Because when systems are efficient, invisible, and trusted, that's when you know they've become essential. 2025 and 2026 will be remembered as the years when financial systems stopped pretending they could stay analog. The ISO 20022 standard forced modernization, and networks like Hedera are the only ones ready to handle the new weight of that transparency. And when the mainstream finally connects the dots, they'll see that HBR was never chasing hype. It was building the plumbing for the financial internet the whole world's now forced to use. HBR doesn't need the spotlight. It just needs the moment. And that moment, that quiet, seismic shift is already here. HBR doesn't beg for attention because it doesn't need it. It's not chasing virality, it's building trust. It's the coin for those who think long-term, for those who understand that the future of finance isn't about speculation. It's about infrastructure. And the beauty of it all? Hedera's not waiting for permission. It's already connected, from banking pilots to enterprise integrations, quietly threading its way into the backbone of the ISO 20022 framework. You won't see it trending every week, but when you zoom out, it's obvious. This is what institutional adoption actually looks like. In a few years, when people look back at 2025, they'll realize that this was the moment the system flipped. The moment HBAR went from a crypto project to a standard. So the question isn't, will HBAR succeed? The question is, how long will it take before everyone else figures out that it already did? Movie camera, if you made it this far, you already see what others don't. Hit that like button if you believe HBAR is building the backbone of the future financial web. Subscribe if you're ready for the next phase of digital finance, the quiet phase where the real winners are made. And drop a comment below. Tell me when you first realized HBAR wasn't just another coin. It was the infrastructure,